in your herd. So there is two important objectives in the six first months. First, it's to double the birth weight at the weaning. So if you have animals at 40 kilograms at the birth, you need to be over 80 kilograms at the weaning. And after, the second objective is to have a live weight at 6 months around 200 kilograms, but the best objective is to be at 220 kilograms. So something very important to know, we'll see after, that the potential of growth for young heifers is in the first 6 months. And a difference of liveliest in the first 6 months will be never fulfilled after. So it means that if you have 10 kilograms under 200 kilograms, so you are only at 190 kilograms, the difference between two heifers at 6 months will not be fulfilled after. So it's really important to have a good management of the growth during the first months of life. So why is it important to look at this short period just after the birth? It's because during the first months of life, growth is not made as the same way for heifers. So we have a successive depot of tissue from the birth to 6 months. So first, before the birth, in the embryo period, the nervous tissue is depot on the animal, and it will begin the bone construction. After the birth, the big tissue depot is bone, and after we have muscle and fat depot tissues. So you can see here, if you have not in the right, if you don't give the good nutrient at the right period, you will not have a good growth. So if you don't give protein when you want to give muscle to the animal, you will not have muscle, and you will have really smaller animals. So something really important also to know, it's the frontier between muscle and fat tissue. It's around the puberty. So before the puberty, the animal will depot bone and muscle, and after the puberty, the animal will depot fat. So it's really important to know that the best growth is before the puberty, and after the puberty, if you give too much energy to your animal, you will have fatted heifers, and this is a big problem because you will reduce after the milk production potential of your animal. So something also really important to have a good expression of the growth during the first month is to have a really good look at the first days of life. So something really important, and an image that I want to tell every day in farm is 1 day of diarrhea means 1 kilogram less at 6 months. I tell you before that the weight at 6 months can be fulfilled after. So if you have too much time in diarrhea, you will reduce the growth during the first days of life, and also you will have a big impact on the growth after. And after, you will have less weight at 6 months of life. So it's really important to have this graph in mind, because regarding the level of the type of pathogen you have in the farm and the immunity of your animal, we can have a management. The management will be different if you have Escherichia coli on the farm or if you have Salmonella, because the time of apparition of this disease are not at the same time. The Escherichia coli diarrhea is in the first day of life. And the Salmonella diarrhea are much more at around 21 days. So it's really important to know, and we have some tools to know the pathogen in the farm, and this is really interesting to know, because after we can work on the dry cow period to have a good immunity for the cow, and after it will increase the EG, the immunoglobulin in the colostrum, and this will help the calf in the first day of life. So it's really important to know, and in Pakistani context, it's really important because humidity and heat are much more important than in France, and you have a lot of diarrhea and a lot of potential pathogen in farm that will after decrease the level of growth of your young cattle. Something also really important to understand is first, when a calf is born, it's monogastric. It will only eat milk and have only a digestion in the abomasum. But the objective of the milk plan is to have a good growth, a really high level of growth in this period. We can be around, in the best case, we can be over 900 grams of growth per day. And the objective and the aim of the milk plan is to be to come from a monogastric to a ruminant. And this is really important because you see here in the graph that we have a different appearance of bacteria and archaea or mushroom in the rumen. And if you look at the first day, we have only bacteria in the rumen. But after, at between 80 or 22 days of life, we have all the strains of bacteria and microorganisms of an adult cows in the rumen. So if you bring a nutrient for this rumen, you can develop the digestibility capacity of the rumen, and you will stimulate the growth of the rumen. So it's really important to know, and you can give solid feed in the first day of life of the animal. You will not eat a lot, but it will help to develop the rumen, and after we can look at the raw materials and have a good papilla's growth and increase the absorption in the rumen. Something really interesting is to know that we need to come from a monogastric to a ruminant in the milk plan during the milk plan, and here we have a comparison between two feed plans. At the left, we have calves with only milk, and at the right, we have milk replacer and starter give in the first days of life. And you can see that the rumen size and the development of the papillas are much more important in milk replacer with starter, because starter will help to the growth of bacteria, and this growth of bacteria will after stimulate the growth of the rumen. So you will increase the dry matter intake of your young cattle, and you will increase the absorption in the rumen. So it's really important to give in the first day of life starters to help the animal to develop his rumen. And with a good transition period, you will have a better rumen development, and this will help the animal to have a good level of growth. Just to have an example of mixed plan, here I put in blue the milk replacer intake, and in the green it's the starter intake. So the starter intake just begin at 20 days, but you can give in the first day of life, because just to develop, the animal will only eat a few grams, but it will help to develop the rumen capacity. This milk plan is not made for a good, really high level of growth. It's only at 750 grams, 750 grams per day. So it's not a quite high level of growth, but it's a good level of growth if you can maintain this growth from birth to 60 days. And the average with this milk plan, the average milk replacer intake is around 670 grams per day. The total quantity is not a high milk replacer intake. It's only 42 kilograms per Heifers. And the weight at the weaning will be around 90 kilograms. So it's a good growth. We double the birth weight at the weaning, and this is really important. But we can adapt our milk plan and our advice on the milk period. So we can help you to choose a milk replacer, and also to have a good milk plan and to increase the growth of your animals. Just to finish, we have some feed plans after with the weaning. So here we have ration from the weaning to 6 months. And this is really important to know. It's in this period that we have muscle development. So that's why we have a very high level of crude protein. We are over 15% of crude protein in the ration. The best way is to be around 15.5 to 16%, with a good level of crude fiber to increase the rumination and increase the development of the rumen, the dry matter intake, and the intake capacity of the animal. We also reduce the level of starch to reduce the risk of acidosis in this period, because if you have damage in the rumen, this after will be not good for the milk production. Also, something very important is if you want to have growth, you need to have a strong bone and a strong structure of your animal. So it's really important to have a good management of the minerals and the trace element. So that's why we have a high level of recommendation for calcium, phosphorus, and sodium, is to increase the strongness of the bone, and also something really important is the intake of trace element. Copper, zinc are really important for the hair synthesis, and this is really important to have a good epithermal barrier for the animals. And also cobalt, selenium, and iodine are really important for the nervous tissue development and also the immunity. Something not to be at the right is to have a good level of vitamin intake. Vitamin A is really important for the antioxidant status. Vitamin D3 is really important for the bone structure, and vitamin E is really important for the immunity. So after 6 months to first AA, we need to decrease a little bit the concentration of the ration. We will reduce a little bit the energy intake, because at this period we are around the puberty, and we would not like to be would like to have a fattened heifers. That's why we reduce the level of energy in this ration. The crude protein we need to be a little bit under than before 6 months, but always quite high, because we always have muscle depots. But the crude fiber will increase a lot, because we need to increase the rumen development and the intake capacity of the animal. And we can also bring a little bit of fermented silage in this period, because before we can have some trouble in the rumen, and it's forbidden for me to give fermented silage in ration before 6 months. But after 6 months, we can give a little bit and increase the level of starch. It's always important to give trace elements, minerals, and vitamins for the animal. The recommendation of MG2 mix are quite the same in this period, but it's always important to give phosphorus and calcium to have a good structure of bone. And just to finish and compare why it's important to work during this period, here you have a survey of the economic impact of animal with different level of growth. So at the left, you have high growth level of animal with a growth at over 1 kilograms per animal per day from 0 to 6 months days of life. And after, for low level of growth, we are only at 900 grams per day. So something really interesting is to look at the age of the first calving. The first calving were between 22 and 24 months of life in the high growth level, and for a low level of growth, the first calving appear after, so over 30 months of life. So you can reduce the time of breeding of your heifers with a good level of growth during the first 6 months. Also, something very interesting is to look at the cows sold before lactation. We have a lower level of cows sold before the lactation when we have high level of growth. And to compare with the low level of growth, we have 30% of cows sold before 6 months compared to 50% for a low level of growth. So this is really important. You will decrease the time of breeding, but also you will have stronger animal, and this animal will be after have a better longevity in your herd. Something really interesting, because you give the good nutrient at the right moment, the milk production will be much more higher in the first in the 3 first lactation. You will increase the production from 15 to 21%. So this means more than 2,000 kilograms per animal per day. And also the feed cost will be reduced in the breeding period. You will save $200 with a shorter time of breeding, with a calving between 22 to 24 days. So this is really important to have a good growth, to reduce the feed cost and also increase the milk production for dairy cows and reduce cooled cows. So this is really important to have a good economic efficiency on your herd, to have a good management of heifers. So now I will give the floor to Charles to speak about peripartum management.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you very much.